So our next speaker is Oji Udezue. Oji has almost definitely touched you, or touched your life. Let's be more specific about that. Among other things, he's worked as a product manager at Microsoft. He worked on Windows and a bunch of other things. He was at Atlassian, he was at Twitter, and he's been the chief product officer for both Calendly and Typeform. So is there anyone here who hasn't used at least one of those things? Yeah, it's kind of cool. He's currently building a venture studio, and he's got a company called Product Mind that he uses where he consults with product organizations and teams and helps improve them. He's here today to talk about building products with AI at the core. He may also mention his cool book that he wrote with his wife. It's called Building Rocket Ships, Product Management for Product-Led Companies. But please put your hands together and welcome Oji to the stage.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes. Fantastic. Okay, I like that spirit, okay? So I want a very engaged audience. Can we have that today? Yes. All right. Building products with AI at the core. There's a lot to get through, so I'm going to get started. By the way, if any of you thought dirty when he said touch people, I didn't touch nobody, okay? Okay? My products touched you. I didn't touch anybody. All right, so, hey guys, can I have the speaker notes, if you don't mind? It's not really working. Sorry. They can't take this out of my time. They can't take this out of my time. I feel like I should do a dance. I'm actually going to do a dance, so you are in for a treat in a few minutes. Look, I'll just start with an introduction. So I'm Oji Udezue. I am many things, but I'm mostly a product leader, but I've surprisingly been able to sort of indulge my curiosity. So I've led product teams, I've led engineering teams. Actually, I have a master's in engineering. I've led design teams, I've led marketing teams, done sales enablement. So I'm one of those product leaders who has seen everything, probably in the C-suite, that relates to building great products. And I've been very fortunate for it. I guess this is where I should advance this. I'm also an entrepreneur. I built a company in 2013 to 2015. I do a lot of work with startups, mentorship, investing. I've been investing in African startups for over 10 years. I was born in Nigeria myself. At Twitter, oh, there's a Nigerian over there somewhere. At Twitter, I bought 5 companies, and prior to that, when I say bought, I didn't, not with my money, but like acquired and integrated companies into, and founders into my organization. Right now I'm doing 2 things. I'm building a venture studio. I've always had a consulting team that really tries to level up and elevate product companies. I'm sort of expanding that as well. Now, when I left Twitter, and you can't ask me too much about Twitter. When I left Twitter, I left Twitter just as Elon Musk moved in, right? I knew it was going to be a cluster. I know the man and have studied him. He's actually on my wall. I'm very ashamed about this. Before he turned, whatever, I won't talk about this. So I was in charge of all the communications. My organization was called Conversation. So all the communication applets of Twitter were under my domain. So tweeting, audio spaces, we killed Clubhouse, DMs, B2B ads and more were under our team. So this was the core, the soul of Twitter. The only thing we didn't own was search, the feed, and so on and so forth. And so when I left Twitter, I was like, you know what? I've been at this for 20 plus years. It's time to do something else. I'm going to go do the venture studio, which I'm doing now. And I was like, then GPT 3.0 came out. And I just realized immediately that I couldn't do the thing. Like, how do you invest in startups in the next super cycle when you haven't done anything, when you don't know anything about it, when you haven't built it? And I realized it was going to be very frustrating. So I became chief product officer at Typeform. Typeform was perfect It's a product based on text, right, and visuals. Does anybody here use Typeform? Tell me. Okay. For those of you who don't know Typeform is like one of the OG form-filling applications. Now, this seems innocuous, but it's very, very powerful. Forms are the way that the web interacts with humans, right? In HTTP 1.0, Tim Berners-Lee, all that time, back in the day, I'm sort of dating myself, the web could not really interact with humans. It could tell you things, but how do you get us into the web? Well, forms are how you do that. Even the Google thing, right? The box is a form. But at Typeform, we turned it into an art, right? You could no-code generate questions, and then people could fill it in, and we did it one question at a time, so it felt conversational. You could style it to match your website, right? And then once the data came in, you could analyze it, store it, send it to different systems, and so on and so forth. And this is the lifeblood of sales, marketing, and it's a $100 million, roughly, company, if that makes any sense. And so because it's based on text and text data, I thought, this is amazing, right? We can do AI here. So when I got there, I started building AI into the core pillars of the company. And actually, what I want to talk about is that halfway through the first year, I decided to build a whole new business based on artificial intelligence that was essentially going to disrupt Typeform. I decided to rebuild Typeform using AI at the core. And I'm about to tell you a little bit about it, but we have to go back a bit before I tell you some of those practical learnings. So I'm going to play a video for you to illustrate the new product. I'm going to assume you know Typeform.com. It's not going to tell you everything about the new product, but hopefully you get the vibe, and I'll talk about it towards the end of this. Are you ready? Okay, you ready for me to do a little shimmy, a little dance? All right, let's do this. So this is Formless by Typeform. Let me just give you like 30 seconds. It is a whole new product that helps you collect information from humans. But it doesn't feel like a form, which is why we called it Formless. It presents as a well-styled to your marketing page, your brand identity page, right? And then it talks to you. It asks you questions and you answer. And you can actually do audio in any language powered by a large language model. Now, it's not just a large language model. We built UI, JavaScript around it, so you could do the no-code part in like 2 seconds. In fact, when you onboard with Formless, it detects the company you're with and starts to create forms that you will probably need based on your company and your use cases. It's quite powerful, and I'll talk a little more about it. But we could only do this because we wrapped it around a large language model. It was impossible to do this in JavaScript. Well, let's go back a little bit, right? We're not talking about NLP or machine learning, just so everyone knows. Now, the reason I bring that up is because AI has different flavors, and that's what has been happening in the last 10 years, NLP, machine learning, and so on. And at Typeform, we had all of that. I had a big data science organization. There's some tricks that we could only do with NLP. When you start an OG Typeform, we say, oh, this is going to take 5 minutes. That's NLP, because we have millions of forms, and we've timed them, and we can predict how long a form will take. And actually, we had rules on how to ask the best questions, because people drop off. And if you followed our rules, we could tell you, and some of that came through NLP. But this is not what we're talking about, right? NLP is good at categorizing large amounts of data. Google Speech was based on NLP, is very good at like 80%, 85%. Large language models are better. And that's what's transformed the world today. Does anyone know the paper that was written to create LLMs? Has anyone ever seen that? Wait, are you all PMs? What's happening? Okay, so in 2017, 8 researchers at Google wrote a paper called Intention is All You Need. And that's the generation, that is the foundation of large language models. I encourage every PM to read it. It's a typical science paper. I come from academia back in the day. I was getting a PhD at USC in computer science. You should read it, right? Because this is math, really. And you should know exactly how it works. You should go read it. So they wrote the paper, but the paper could only come true with large amounts of data and large amounts of compute. And people were like, there's no way, not no way, but like, this is super hard. Like, how do we actually get that done? Well, it turns out there's a large amount of data. 20% of maybe the last 50 years of human data is on the internet, and it's crawlable, right? And so we could generate that large amount of data to make LLMs true. And you saw us starting to do that in 2017. And also compute starts to catch up, right? NVIDIA creates CUDA, that little layer underneath their GPUs, and starts to build its next supercomputers. So by the time we get to the pandemic, 2020, 2021, things are really cooking with gas. OpenAI starts in 2015, anticipating all of this, or 2016, something like that. And GPT starts rolling out, GPT-1, GPT-2, GPT-3, and by the time I leave Twitter, we're at 3.0. Now, a very small thing, GPT 3.0, does anyone know how long it was out there, free, open source, before ChatGPT came around? Anyone know this answer? Trick question. It's not a trick question, it's a real question. You don't know? Oh my God, I'm gonna make you guys take a pledge at the end. But it took a year. They released it for everyone to use, but of course, like all code, it required imagination to use, right? And so it languished because most people in the world couldn't write code. Most people in the world still don't write code. In a year, about literally a year, they created ChatGPT. What is ChatGPT? ChatGPT is the productization of GPT 3.0. It is an actual product, which is why I always tell people that a company is technology, products, and then the business. They created a product, and they wrapped it around chat, a very common use case for humans, right? And about information retrieval, very common use case like Google, and it took off, right? 100 million people in about 3 months. That's exactly what happened with this. It was amazing. Now, while they're doing this in their weird nonprofit thing, Facebook and others are cranking, Mistral from France, there is, Llama and so on and so forth. So there's still a huge research component to all this stuff. And everyone is racing to AGI. Does anyone know what AGI stands for? Artificial General Intelligence. No one actually knows what it is and how to define it. I think Sam Altman says that it's when these models will generate new science is what AGI is. So like if these models create like a new gravitational constant or some cosmological constant, then that's AGI. Well, we don't know what it is, but it's heading that way. Now, the thing I want to say as context before I continue and get to the lessons of formulas is that everything is going to change. I feel like I'm John the Baptist. I want to tell every PM that the thing that you're working on, the JavaScript, working with developers and so on, is going to change dramatically. It doesn't seem like it yet, but it will. And it's not just computing, which will change, but it will change economies, right? Because if we all get 50% more efficient, what happens to work? Well, we wouldn't all need to work eventually. Like, some people will just be better at it because they have all these amazing tools and these superpowers. So it will change the math of economies and governments and countries. There'll be people who win and people who lose. And this is a bigger thing than computing and our jobs. And science and research. In the last 100 years, how science and research has worked is we go do a lot of theorizing, create all these hypotheses. And then the experimental people, especially in physics, go do some tests, the Large Hadron Collider and so on and so forth. This is experimental physics. And they try to confirm the theory of what's happening. Well, do you know what's happening with AI? It's becoming the other way around. So one of the things that people are working on is fusion, right? And there may be like 1 billion ways that you can do the magnetic field inside a fusion reactor. People have started to run these simulations through an LLM, which will now predict the right configuration of the magnetic field. And then it will work. And they don't know the physics of it. So we are finding science before we know the theory of it because of this, which will accelerate our ability to generate new knowledge. And of course, defense applications, the Pentagon and China, they don't tell you, but like the race, all this chip thing, banning things and so on and so, is because AI changes the game of war, right? In the last 100 years, it was really like mutually assured destruction. I had 2 nuclear weapons, you had 10, it didn't matter, we're all dead, okay? But if 2 AIs fight and one is better than the other, what happens? One always wins. Always, 100% of the time. And so it changes what this is. So this is gonna change our society. Before I move on this, and I really don't have enough time, I will say this, AI probably will not replace us. AI cannot love, does not feel kindness. The human machine is actually more complicated than we think it is. And hopefully we continue to preserve the things that make us human. And also AI doesn't know everything. There are only maybe 20% of human knowledge, especially historical knowledge. The Aborigines have centuries of knowledge. The Zulus have centuries of knowledge. The Icelandic people have, none of it is on the internet. And so AI will not know these things for a very long time until we digitize them and make it available. So, 2 core ideas and I'll tell you about Formless. LLM at the core and LLM at the edge. Actually, I don't like saying LLMs. I mean large language models, but I like talking about large media models because they don't just generate language, they generate mixed media. They generate pictures, they generate movies and so on and so forth. But they will make software stacks obsolete. Exhibit 1, Siri is worthless. Alexa is worthless. Google Assistant is worthless. If you've watched the last 4 months of OpenAI, they did 4.0, right? I hope you're using that. And they did the whole voice thing, right? Would you want to talk to Siri ever again? Ever? Now, let me tell you why that's remarkable. Siri costs billions of dollars, maybe 50 million lines of code. It is worthless within 2 years. This is insane. Now, you think your product is safe, but it's not really safe from that, which is why this talk exists. Old things built on just structural code. Look, our products look amazing to customers because they don't know shit about computer science, right? But really, there's a bunch of if then, else statements and algorithms embedded in them. LLMs are more than that, they're a brain. They can solve problems. They can react to different inputs. They can personalize to 8 billion people. We really need to start to take advantage of it, and people are just learning to learn how to do that. So an LLM at the core is when the next software you have is like at least 50% model, and the other 50% or less is code, traditional code. That's when it's really at the core. And that's what we did with Formless. At the edge is the idea that you can use models to enhance the code that you have today, right? And I'll also show you how we did that. Okay? Now, the thing about new mediums, new inflection points in our business. I've been lucky. I saw the internet, right? HTTP rise. I saw social. I wasn't very close to location, Mobility I was also very close to through my career, Solomo, and so on and so forth. But this is a whole inflection change because it changes the capabilities of what's possible. And when a new medium comes about, people don't know what to do with it. At Microsoft, we created Internet Explorer, but it was a basic browsing the internet, right? But we couldn't see the rise of Twitter, the rise of Salesforce, the rise of Shazam. This is software that used the native capabilities of the internet while we're still building the shovels of the internet, right? It was hard to see from that vantage point because we're building desktop software, Windows, and so on and so forth. And so everybody's still learning. There's a little bit of a good thing about that because if everyone is still learning, then you can learn. You're not left behind. You just have to commit to it and understand what's shifting and what's happening. So over the next 10 years, there's going to be that same trajectory. We're building the Internet Explorers right now, and people are eventually going to build a Shazam, people who paint natively with this stuff. So what does that mean? If I'm talking about change, are you scared yet? Are you scared yet? Okay, you shouldn't be. And I'll tell you why. It's a really simple thing, and I'll start with a statement. We're remarkably the same. You know, Homo sapiens hasn't changed dramatically in maybe like, 400,000 years. And there's 50,000 years of recorded history. We do the same things. Here's a thought experiment. If you're doing marketing in an organization, how many ways are there to do it, even if you went all around the world? Maybe 1,000 ways, right? And part of it is that your environment changes, or also knowledge spreads differently across the world. And if you average all those 1,000 years, all those 1,000 ways to do it, you get sort of what's called the optimal workflow, right? They want to acquire customers, you want to explain things to them, and then you want to send them some stuff. Like, the workflow isn't that different. Human workflows, workflows are actually remarkably stable. Humans, we want to socialize, we want to feel close to people, and so on and so forth. Like, ICQ to WhatsApp, what's the difference, really, right? Same workflows, different business models, different technology. So I want to introduce you to workflow theory. In the beginning, I say in the beginning like I'm God. In the beginning, right, we used to write specifications. And specifications were just like, here's how humans should use our software. And then we went to use cases, and it's like, here's how software should maybe work with humans. And now I tell you there's a better way, workflows. What you need to do is to find out how your customers work. What is the sequence of things they want to do to accomplish their goal? And you wrap software around them. If you can do this and stop just messing around with use cases, if you can draw the sequence that expresses their core goals and their core things, you will start to build really great software. And so what does this mean? It means that AI is a tool that can be used to accomplish workflow. It'll be different from JavaScript and all this stuff. It might be faster and better, and that's what we found when we were building Formless. Yes, help your customers align to workflows because they're remarkably stable. Marketing is stable. Entertainment is stable. Sales is stable. The actual technology they will use and how it looks will be different. For some things, we won't need UI anymore. We're going to go into an era of UI-less software, agentic software, and you have to be able to adapt to that. Are you still with me? Yeah, can we do some snaps, please? Yeah? I didn't want to depress anybody. In summary, workflows don't really change, right? But you can make them faster and you can make them deeper. So Formless. Formless is no code, just like Typeform, but we don't specify every single question that people should answer. You can actually go to formless.ai right now and check it out. What we do instead is say, what do you want to ask? What is important to get from this person, right? And if you want to be specific, you can actually maybe give it a few rules to do that. And it will ask these questions, and it will keep asking until it gets the answer. It will keep bugging. It'll say, ask in different ways until it gets the answer. It is so amazing. And then you can style it. It comes up with pictures for you that fit the topic. People change language while they're talking to Formless. It will respond to it. So when I got to Typeform, I had a gift, Typeform Labs. The CEO, the old CEO, was a builder. And he just said, you know what, I'm no longer CEO, I don't want to be CEO. He handed it off to a professional CEO, and he began to build. And actually, when I got there, we were building an AI product called Relady, but it was in collaboration, and I'm like, this is off thesis, off strategy, what else can we do? And after a few months, we landed on, let's disrupt ourselves. So that was the first decision, really, is LLM at the core, let's disrupt ourselves, right? And then to do that, we started to decide, like, what is the real value? What underpins PMF in Typeform? And so we started to get the things like, okay, no-code design is important. Interaction and conversational is important. Beautiful design, something that just understands your design language for your company and for you personally is important. And why is this is important? Because that's the first step before you get to workflows. What constitutes why people love this? And to be able to build something at the core, we had to distill this. And of course, we decided on native AI features. Like, for example, when you're building something like Typeform, you have to sort of build a table. You're asking one question at a time, and you know the answer, you know the question that it is. But if people are, if an AI can ask the same question 3 different ways to get the right answer, where's the table? And if there's no table, how do you analyze the data? Okay, so we built this thing that actually just streams free-form answer into the system, and then from there we turn it into structured data. And then we can actually create the SQL after the fact. And this required a bunch of invention. I think we should have patented that. But I don't know that David was interested in patenting that. And so we said, okay, if we use native AI, here's what changes. Here's what's different. My favorite story here is, after launching this, I'm a very disciplined product person, and so we wanted to put it in front of people all the time, like, okay, because we're in uncharted space. And so we tried to put it in front of people very early. And what we found was they would do the formless and answer the questions, and then they wouldn't leave, right? They'd keep chatting to it because, frankly, it was a better front end to ChatGPT, right, on a full web page. They would keep talking to it, and they would ask interesting questions like, why should I give you my money? The customer. What is great about your company? What is great about the software? So what is that? What is that, though? Think about it in a workflow sense. The workflow today is you do marketing, and then you pass the leads on to marketing and sales, and then the salesperson calls to do the thing that Formless is doing right now, the conviction. So what were we able to do? We're able to absorb a workflow into the front end, and it became a virtual salesperson. And so one of the things we did in the software was that we would allow you to do RAG. You can absorb the company's knowledge, so it could answer all those questions after the fact, after the person has given you the data, to convince you to give us money, which is, I know, bad, but yeah, we needed money. So by really thinking native and reimagining stuff, building at the core, we're able to unlock even more value. Now, Typeform could not only do marketing and sales, it could even do support. Imagine building a formless for your support team, right? And it becomes the agent, boom. And you can do it for so cheap, it's so easy. You just point it to all the support content and it'll absorb it. And then they can have that conversation. Right. There's so many favorite stories that we had with Formless. Walking around Barcelona with David and coming up with a name. There are all kinds of pitfalls in building with AI at the core. Consistency, these things hallucinate. Testing. When the model changes, sometimes your prompts don't work. Predictability. It'll work for 99% of people, and someone says, wait, it didn't work for me. How do you debug that? And pricing. When models come out, they're very expensive, and then they make it more efficient, and the price plummets. But if I need the most, advanced AI for this, for some part of the functionality, how do I price for it? We haven't dealt with this in 10 years. So all kinds of new stuff came out that we had to learn about. Now, we didn't just build AI at the core, right? We also had to put AI into Typeform itself. And so we did. And so I tasked my team to think about how do you make AI as part of the old product? And we started to look at all our workflows and think, how can we accelerate these workflows using AI? This is a pet peeve of mine. There's a lot of products out there today that's just a sprinkling like AI magic dust, all right, on old use cases. And how you know is you try to use it and you don't go back to it. It doesn't really provide acceleration. Is anyone here from Notion? So before I cast aspersions. Anyway, there's some AI features in Notion that I don't love. Like, it takes more time to create bullets through the AI interface than actually do it with shortcuts. And I'm like, why? Why are you doing this? I don't care about this. Because the AI isn't the thing that I'm after, it's the workflow, right? Like I told you, I just want to create it faster. If you can't do 2x, 3x faster, then why am I doing this with AI? And costing GPU cycles is really crazy to me. So we decided to think about how to make the older product better. My favorite thing that we tried to make better was just creating forms. Now, Typeform is really built for desktop, and so creating forms is easy. There's a builder, blah, blah, blah. But we did this new thing called Create with AI. You just tell, and we got inspiration, by the way, from Formless. Because Formless, at onboarding, it will generate forms for you. Because the model understands your company. It understands the things that you're trying to do, so it will just generate it. And so with Typeform, we said create with AI, so you just tell it what you want to do and it will do it. Now, people use Typeform casually, but like marketing teams build really complicated lead scoring algorithms into Typeform. You can do that kind of thing that takes hours and hours to create in minutes with this current version of Typeform. And even subtle things, it's easy to build on a desktop, terrible on a mobile device. But if you can just tell it what to do on a mobile device, then the mobile builder is so powerful without sort of losing customers. So we did all of those things. And the good news is we started to think about KPIs. How do we measure this? And we started to see things like people return 30 to 50% of the time when they use this AI feature. And we are like, yes, now we know we're doing something. And it's not just sprinkling AI magic dust on the thing. Basically, this is what I call with building with AI at the edge. It's your old code, where you're finding the places where AI accelerates it in a way that actually matters to your customers. And frankly, the reality is that people have to do both. Because you have that code now, yeah? You can't throw it away. You're making $50 million ARR. You have to find the deep places where AI accelerates it. But you have to start thinking about the core strategies, how to do something new. The last thing, not the last thing, but the thing I'll tell you before I go to KPIs, and I'm going to land this plane, is it was a very difficult executive conversation at a C-suite to build Formless, right? Because why would you compete with the old thing? Why would I divert 3 headcount to do the thing? But we knew that if we tried to build with that kind of ambition and forward-leaning thinking into Typeform, it would never work. It would never work. We're there to protect revenue. This is classic innovator's dilemma. Has anyone read the book? Right? At least heard about it? The Innovator's Dilemma is a classic book, Clayton Christensen's. If you haven't read it on your PM, you really, really should. And so we're protecting revenue. So it would have been slow. There's code. There's tech debt. Impossible, right? And so we decided to build it completely in a different, structureless, no-holds-barred way. And the idea is that if we could build that revenue up, we'll figure out how to merge it in the end. And so that was the plan. So KPIs. Here are a few KPIs I want you to think about. And I'm not saying that you should abandon your old KPIs. No, because AI is infrastructure as far as I'm concerned. But you can think of new ways to measure AI-centric features. Here are a few. Time to value. AI's really great thing is increasing time to value. By building text, create the form for me, we made it so that we put it right on onboarding so that it no longer took people figuring out the builder to get value from Typeform. So we increased the time to value immediately. Like it took minutes, not days, right? And that was crucial. So we started to measure time to value. The thing that you could do, how quickly can you get to it? Another one is workflow length. It turns out you can figure out the length of a workflow, because all you have to do is really measure the average time it takes to do a discrete thing in your user experience. And that's the workflow length. So if you build a new AI feature, you can measure whether it reduces that length or it lengthens it. Here's another really sneaky one, tweak time. You write that marketing report, and it takes you an hour to get it right, just right for your organization. Tell me, is that useful? It saved you 40 minutes, but it took you 60 minutes to get it, to create it. So we said to measure tweak time. And then feature return, I already talked about this. Are people coming back for this? These are interesting KPIs. So I have 2 more slides, and I just want to say and recap, right? Transformer-based AI is here to stay, right? It's with us. It's our future. It's the next super cycle for everybody here. Everyone is learning how to paint, especially with this at the core. You have to learn. You can't hide from it. Like if you are in insurance or some other, backwater of the economy that's hard to disrupt. Sorry if you're in insurance. I was talking to an insurance guy yesterday. We acknowledged that it was very difficult to disrupt insurance with technology. It might not get to you quickly, but it will get to you. It will drive down the cost of building. Like when I started my career, it took $1 million, to build a thing that would make $50,000 initially in your first year. Now it takes like $250,000. In the future, it will take $50,000. This is going to transform venture capital, transform software building. Eventually, maybe people won't even need to build companies. Everyone will be able to make their own software. I don't know. Like this is going to change everything. LLM at the core will win. Your HTTP JavaScript thing, blah, 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 it's eventually going to run out of steam, just like Siri did, just like Alexa did, and so on and so forth. It depends on where you are in the economy and how competitive it is. Don't forget to measure the right thing. Don't forget to measure the right thing. Now, I want you all to sort of raise your hand, right? I do this, right, because there's a lot of people here who don't know crucial things. Can you raise your hand? Trust me. Are you with me? Okay, good. I want you to say after me, because I really want you to do this, because I want you to have your job and I want you to innovate. Say after me, okay? Are we ready? I will understand the tech behind transformer-based AI. I will use it every week. Again. I will understand the tech behind transformer-based AI. I will use it every week. Immersion is the only way to create career insurance, okay? You should have all kinds of tools, or Llama, desktop ways to run these models, and you should use it every week to solve problems. I wrote a game in about 2 hours, like 3 weeks ago, in Swift. I've never written Swift code. And it's kind of amazing. In fact, all these code editors are going to die. People will just write code in some GPT application and deploy it. So, I don't know. Sorry if you make some code stuff here. And that's it. Thank you very much. I'm Oji, Product Mind, and I love you guys. Okay. Oh, Q&A? We got a little time. This guy is first. He's in the front, but I don't like that. So he has an unfair advantage. All right, go ahead. Go for it. Yeah, you. No, we need that, because I want people to benefit.
The idea of the workflows is actually very amazing. I'm doing the research for at Yale, and we call it process journey map that defines like what data comes in the process, how it's processed, etc. And it's actually very hard to find a use case for AI in these journeys. I was building AI products and with all this research, and my question about the formulas, how I know a little bit about the research, and I know that every question, every word matters there when you show it to the consumer. How did you, and I don't believe AI can understand that enough to present the right words.
No, it can. It can. I'll tell you why I know it can. If you write a little bit, something you want to share on social media, and you say, hey, GPT, rewrite this for something that will go viral. It will do it. It knows the words. And so all we did was prompt it. It asked the right questions a lot for our customers. We just needed to tell it exactly what to do, which is what prompt engineering is. It asked better questions than humans. Can you imagine 1 million people manually writing the question for type form? They don't know what they're doing. They really don't. Like 99% don't know how to write questions that get good answers. And now by making the AI do it, which actually knows, it got better for everybody, for that million. It's better than humans for this part. And so it was amazing. Right? I have friends who are building their UI based on formulas, really, inside their app, because it's better at that. And it can change languages. It understands Igbo, my native language. It's crazy. It's mad. So I disagree with you. I saw it. I've seen thousands of people deploy formulas, so I know that it works. Yeah. Yeah, you. Yeah. So by the way, before I say workflows, we say process journey map. I say workflows. Because process journey maps usually suffer from the fact that they work, it's sort of mapping what people are doing today, right? Workflows are really what do people intend to do, what sequence at a level above software do they think about their work? And then software is built around that. Like software is clay, JavaScript is clay, AI is clay, right? How do you accomplish the sequence of how they think about their goals, right? That abstraction, that is a part of creativity. The journey maps sometimes suffer from this is how it's done today, right? And abstracts that. But this is how it's done today is not clay-like. It's not. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm, like many of the attendees in this audience, really excited about AI and the future. One thing that I always get hung up on, and I'm curious to hear kind of your thoughts on it, is like the environmental impact of AI. So curious to hear kind of what kind of research you've done on that, or kind of anyone you listen to on that.
I feel like this is above my pay grade, but I'll look, there's nothing, AI right now is a market, it's economic, right? People won't stop building AI stuff because it's going to increase productivity. By the way, do you know the biggest correlation to GDP is productivity? This is going to increase productivity, meaning that the world will have a GDP 2 times, 3 times more with this technology. So we'll be able to make more stuff, more wealth, more scientific breakthroughs. If you look at that and think about energy costs, people will say every day, let's do this, okay? Because they're thinking about the trade-off. But I will say that there's a lot of research that is towards reducing the energy burn of, and it's not like blockchain, which is sort of a very specific, limited algorithm that you just have to chunk through. You just need more energy. People are figuring out ways to do these. IBM just released a chip that can do the same kind of processing as Blackwell, which is the NVIDIA chip, for like 58 times less energy, right? So the solution to these things is just more innovation eventually versus stopping it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Hello. I was wondering how you gained enough confidence in your LLM to build out 50% of formless with it, and how long it took you to gain that confidence in your LLM.
Well, the beauty of something like Typeform Labs that's driven by ambition is that we didn't know when we started. We just started. And then we found out our confidence as we started. Right? And so we went from 3.0, things were difficult, went to 3.5, things were easier, and then 4.0 popped up and we're like, holy shit, it's even easier. And so, but if we had started when we gained the confidence in 4.0 and waited a year, we would not have been as far ahead and would have taken another year to launch. So sometimes you just gotta go because you can see into the future. You know, this is the worst large media models will ever be, ever, this second. Oh, and the next second is still the worst it'll ever be. So, you know, when you're building for the frontier, you just have to get started.
I'm going to project. So let's say we're all going to do what we pledge. What are the first 3 things if we're total novices? Is it read the paper, download ChatGPT, download Llama? What are the 3 things you advise us to do?
Yes, read the paper. The paper sort of helps demystify it. It feels like magic. It's not. It's math. Get all these desktop tools like Olama. I've forgotten the one that I actually use, which is crazy. LLM, some LLM desktop. It'll allow you to download all kinds of models and you query it and you create images and create like content. So, Llama 3.2 comes out, you check it out and so on and so forth. Build things, build code with it, build marketing materials with it. Try to create a product spec with it. Just think of everything you do and try to do it with it and see if you can. And sometimes it won't work, sometimes it will, and you'll be like amazed. The point is, a lot of knowledge comes from trying and is not theorizing. It's a little related to her question. You gotta do it, and that's how you know. There's a knowing that comes from doing. And you have to have the knowing that comes from doing, not just from looking at things and learning and reading papers, if that makes sense. All right, everyone, I think it's my time. People are staring at me here, so thank you.
Thank you very much.